From Southern Colorado's high-definition news leader, this is News Channel 13, where the news comes first.
Thank you, Colorado. We owe it all to you.
Colorado's governor has been reelected. We'll have a live report from Denver on the governor's race.
Plus, the votes are in for the other major midterm elections. We'll take a look at the issues that passed and the ones that failed.
The U.S. Senate has been reclaimed by Republicans. What President Obama is expected to talk about this year's elections. Good afternoon, and thanks for joining us for News Channel 13 at noon. I'm John Carroll.
And I'm Brittany Bailey. After one of the most competitive races in the country, Governor John Hickenlooper has been reelected to another term.
Results came down this morning after an incredibly tight race between Hickenlooper and Republican challenger Bob Beaupre. KRDO News Channel 13's Bonnie Silkman is at the state capitol in Denver. She just heard from our newly elected governor and joins us live now. Good afternoon, Bonnie.
Good afternoon, John and Brittany. Well, when most of us went to sleep last night, Republican Bob Beaupre was in the lead, but those numbers flipped at midnight. Now, Governor John Hickenlooper is leading the polls by about 25,000 votes, enough to make that call that he has been reelected. Now, we were inside of the state capitol earlier today when a very tired but excited Governor John Hickenlooper made his statements about his victory. Take a look.
Most of all, we want to thank Colorado. Thank you, Colorado. We owe it all to you.
Now, as you can hear, there were plenty of hugs and celebrations and cheers today as Governor John Hickenlooper made his speech. The crowd chanted the words 4 more years as he made his entrance. He thanked his family and campaign workers and also vowed to work with Republicans in the legislature.
We work together, and I think that's an emblem and a symbol of what we've done these last 4 years. It's how we move from 40th to 4th in job creation. I know you're sick of hearing that. It's how we also managed to bring our unemployment rate from 9.1% down to 4.7%, and why.
Well, just like I helped my little small business.
Now, Hickenlooper's campaign wasn't always that excited. At midnight, Hickenlooper trailed Beaupre by over 5,000 votes, but around 3 this morning, Hickenlooper started climbing into the lead by a margin of about 8,000 votes, and by 7 a.m., he was up more than 22,000. Now, Republican Bob Beaupre has refused to concede in this race. We did contact his campaign offices, and we haven't heard back from them yet, although they have made a statement saying they have roughly 120,000 more votes to be counted. So they're not making a statement, and he has not conceded this race just yet. For now, reporting live from the Capitol in Denver, Bonnie Silkman, KRDO News Channel 13.
All right, thanks so much, Bonnie. And here's a look at the latest numbers for the other races in the midterm elections. Democratic U.S. Senator Mark Udall won't be serving a second term. Republican Representative Cory Gardner has defeated him with 49% of the vote versus Udall's 45%.
El Paso County's clerk and recorder will be Colorado's next Secretary of State. Republican Wayne Williams got 49% of the votes, beating out Democrat Joe Neguse for the seat.
And the 2 state senators in Pueblo and Colorado Springs who are elected in recall elections will not be serving another term. In District 3, Democratic challenger Leroy Garcia defeated Republican George Rivera 55% to 45%. And Republican Bernie Herpin was defeated by Democratic challenger Michael Merrifield 52% to 42% in District 11.
Meanwhile, Republican incumbent Congressman Doug Lamborn won his race with 60% of the vote for District 5, beating Democrat challenger Irv Halter. Republican Congressman Scott Tipton will serve another term in District 3 after he defeated Democrat Abel Tapia. And it's all on our website, krdo.com. These and many other races, you can check out all the numbers right there.
Well, now we're going to turn our attention to our weather forecast on this Wednesday, post-election day, and send things over to Storm Tracker 13's Jason Laird.
Well, thanks, Brittany. We are looking at an absolutely gorgeous one out there today. It's going to stick with us for a couple of days, so that's the good news there. But there is going to be a little bit of cooler air slipping in. Let's show you the big scheme of things, how it's going to play out over the next few days. So really what we've got going is this nice patch of mild air planted over top of us. That is going to continue to shift east and flatten out a little bit, allowing for some cooler air out of Canada to slip down into the region. That's going to enter in Friday into Saturday, kind of dropping those temperatures a little bit. We might see a mountain mountain flurry out of this, but for the most part, we're going to stay relatively dry. Currently, here's how we're looking. Not a lot of activity, relatively nice outside, not hardly a cloud in the sky right now as we take you in tight and show you the HD Doppler radar. Clear skies out there and no moisture to speak of right now. Beautiful weather. Mother Nature's been kind of helping us out. As soon as she cools things off, it warms right back up for us. So that's kind of a nice transition into the cooler months. And look at those temperatures right now. Not bad. Into the mid-60s into eastern Colorado, 50s and 60s into the foothills, and 40s and 50s into the mountains. So not a bad day outside. Again, beautiful conditions. And check that out right now up at the North Pole at Santa's Workshop. Look at that beautiful day. Oh, get out and enjoy it. 55 there right now. And our Schrammick, I should say, camera. Notice a little bit of a breeze into Fountain right now, but not too terribly bad. And right now into Ranton Pass, looking at an absolutely gorgeous day out there. So how's our weekend shaping up? Everybody wants to know that, right? Well, that's when that system starts to move in. Friday night into Saturday. That's when we're going to see some clouds build. Possible flurry mixing with rain into the high country, but sunshine returns into Sunday. There's a quick check of that forecast. We'll break down the next few hours just around the corner. John, Brittany, back to you guys.
All right, thank you, Jason. And after Jason's numbers there, we showed you election numbers earlier. Now we can get into hearing more from the candidates themselves. A rising star in the Republican Party is now headed to the U.S. Senate after a convincing win.
Congressman Cory Gardner has unseated incumbent Democrat Mark Udall. Colorado's next senator says he understands people are frustrated with both parties and knows the GOP must now make good on this big victory.
In 2 years, if we don't get the job done, people are going to say, you know what, enough's enough. This is an electorate that's tired of sending people who aren't doing their job, and that's our commitment. We have to do our job.
Mark Udall calls this campaign the biggest mountain he has climbed. Still, Democrats filed into their watch party feeling confident. As the votes came in last night and Gardner took the lead, Udall's supporters didn't want to believe the news. But with Gardner in a comfortable lead, Udall conceded the race.
I just called Congressman Gardner to congratulate him. I thought about Abe Lincoln, you know, his famous story about the boy that stubbed his toe. And he said it hurts too much to laugh, but he was too big to cry.
In the end, Udall thanked his family and Colorado for his 6 years in office.
Democrats in Pueblo County are taking back the seat they lost during last year's recall election. Unofficial election results show Leroy Garcia won the state Senate District 3 race by more than 4,000 votes. He faced incumbent George Rivera. Garcia spent 2 years in the state house and tells us he's excited about moving into the state Senate.
I want people to see this as a continuation of the service that I provided them in the House, working on issues like Fort Line, preserving Fort Line.
Rivera did not concede, but says he's thankful for the 1 year he was able to serve in the state Senate.
Last night's election also brings a new state senator to District 11, covering Manitou Springs and part of Colorado Springs. Former state representative Mike Merrifield celebrated after defeating the incumbent Bernie Herpin, a former Springs councilman. Merrifield lost races for El Paso County Commissioner in 2010 and Colorado Springs City Council in 2011. He reveals one of his upcoming goals in the Senate.
First things I want to do is start creating some sort of a plan for southeast part of my Senate district, the southeast part of Colorado Springs that has been neglected for so long. Come with some ways we can rejuvenate and revise that and revitalize that part of the town. Some tax credits, some incentives. Invite and attract people to build their businesses and their homes there.
Merrifield is a cancer survivor. He says that experience gave him the confidence to run for office again.
Congressman Doug Lamborn is making it clear his first priority is defense spending. Lamborn made his victory speech at the Stargazer Theater last night. He believes GOP motivation and turnout was key in both his re-election and the Senate takeover. He believes he can get most of his agenda complete, even with the threat of a presidential veto.
If we put common sense things on his desk, he can't repeal, he can't veto everything. I think you have to accept the Keystone Pipeline, or stronger defense spending, or repealing the medical device tax, or having more energy production on federal lands, like some of my legislation has done, although it's gotten bottled up in the Senate up until today.
This will be Lamborn's 5th term in the U.S. House of Representatives.
The election makes it official. Bill Elder will be the next El Paso County Sheriff. Elder ran unopposed and has been watching the current scandal within the sheriff's office. He says he hasn't been allowed into the office for any transitional planning, but Elder says he has a team in place that will be ready to take over seamlessly.
And we know what we're going to have to get after. My staff are subject matter experts in this field, and they know what they need. We're building a transition even though it isn't directly within the sheriff's office.
The sheriff's office tells us that Sheriff Terry Makita wishes Elder well.
There's a new lead in the search for a woman kidnapped in Philadelphia. We'll tell you what else police found on surveillance tape that could help them crack the case.
Getting a good night's sleep is not a game, so you may be surprised who's now in the business of helping you catch more Z's.
General Motors is offering a little extra incentive for car owners to fix a faulty switch.
And we're tracking an unseasonably warm day, but how long is it going to last? I'll have those details around the corner. Stick with us.
Topping your economy tracker, a live look shows the Dow up more than 63 points right now. NASDAQ is down 9 and the S&P 500 is up about 6.5. Coloradans have voted against 2 statewide amendments and a proposition.
Voters said no to the third personhood measure to fail at the ballot since 2008. Amendment 67 would have defined person and child in the state criminal code as unborn human beings and would have established the legal foundation to end abortion in Colorado. Amendment 68 also failed, with 71% of voters voting no. The measure would have allowed limited gambling at several horse racing tracks, including one in Pueblo. And genetically modified organisms, or GMOs, will not be required to be labeled in Colorado. Voters shot down Proposition 105, with 66% voting no and 34% saying yes. 3 people, including a 90-year-old man, are under arrest for feeding the homeless.
One of the police officers came over and said, "Drop that plate right now." And so I was carrying a weapon.
90-year-old Arnold Abbott prepares hundreds of meals each week for the homeless, but now the city of Fort Lauderdale has a new ordinance that outlaws groups from feeding the homeless in public. So on Sunday, he was arrested along with 2 ministers. They could face up to 60 days in jail for the crime.
We believe very strongly that Jesus taught us that we are to feed his sheep.
We enforce the laws here in Fort Lauderdale.
It's man's inhumanity to man.
Abbott sued the city back in 1999 for banning him from feeding the homeless on the beach, and he won. Well, that brings us to today's web question. What do you think about Fort Lauderdale's ban on feeding the homeless in public? Leave your comment at KRDO.com or on Facebook or Twitter at KRDO News Channel 13.
Gift cards are being offered to GM car owners to entice them to fix faulty ignition switches. This is due to the fact that almost half the cars affected have not been taken in for repair. GM is giving car owners $25 gift cards to a variety of stores. The cars have to be repaired by January 1st, or at least taken into the dealer by then. The recall started 9 months ago. GM says only about half of the 2.6 million defective ignition switches have been fixed. The faulty ignitions have been tied to at least 29 deaths.
Ford is recalling nearly 40,000 Crown Victoria, Lincoln Town Car, and Mercury Grand Marquis models. It's a Target 13 alert for you. The cars have a steering shaft that could break and that could cause a loss of steering. Now, the other recalls involve airbag problems on some Ford Flex and F-150 vehicles, a fuel line issue with some Ford Transit Connect vehicles, and some brake pedal problems with F-150s. You can see the list of recalls and what to do if you have one of those vehicles on KRDO.com under the Hot button.
Nintendo wants to help you with your sleep. You heard right. Nintendo is creating a bedside sensor that tracks your sleep and gives you suggestions about how to improve it. Nintendo's president says he wants to redefine what entertainment means to the company. The company has consulted with sleep experts, and the sleep sensor technology is from a medical firm.
Things got a little out of hand at a soccer match in Israel. We'll tell you what started the brawl.
Some residents on Hawaii's Big Island may be breathing a little bit easier. We'll have the latest on the lava.
And in case you haven't noticed, plenty of sunshine to go around, but hopefully it'll last a while. We'll have those answers after the break. Stick with us. Well, Mother Nature giving us another pleasant fall day across the state. Not hardly a cloud in the sky or any rain to speak of. Check out Los Animas right now, 63 degrees in Bend County. Beautiful shot there for you. City above the clouds, Woodland Park, 54 as well, and not a cloud in the sky up there. Just a gorgeous one. And check out those temperatures right now. Into the mid-60s into eastern Colorado. Nice little warm up after that drastic cool down we just had past week or so. Check out those temperatures even into the mountains, looking at the mid-40s and 50s up there. So overall, just a nice day. And the good news is that's going to stick around with us for at least a little while, all right? And here we go. Check out that HD Doppler. That really paints the big story today. No clouds really to speak of. A few little stray guys over top of the mountains, but relatively dry out there and looks to be a nice one. Now notice we do have one system kind of cooking up where the last one was, off of the North Pacific. For the most part, we've got a big dry air mass planted over top of us. That's going to create sunny skies and pretty much keep all those clouds right on out. But we kind of have a 1-2 punch just around the corner. A couple batches of colder air are going to slide in. Here's how things are going to play out. So that big batch of warm, dry air is going to continue to shift off to the east over the next few days. So up through Wednesday, we're looking at a relatively nice day. Not really any clouds here today. And into tomorrow, relatively the same story for your Thursday. However, once we start fast forwarding into Friday, that's when things are going to take a bit of a turn for us. But let's just just concentrate on the next few days. We're looking at beautiful, beautiful conditions out there. That area of high pressure again is just going to trot to our south and keep skies relatively clear again up through Thursday. It's Friday night is when that cold front starts to move in. Check out those temperatures for you Wednesday evening. Not too bad. A bit chilly though. I guess for the season it's to be expected, right? Looking at the 20s and not very many 30s to speak of. With those clear skies, there's not really any clouds to blanket things in and keep that warmer ground air in. So it's going to get a bit chilly for us tonight. Tomorrow, another day into the 60s, pushing the 70s out into eastern Colorado. 70 degrees in Trinidad tomorrow, and looking at the high 60s into the foothills, even the mountain locations up into the 50s and 60s. So check out the next 7 days. Here's where things get a bit interesting. Plenty of sunshine. I'll cover up that for a sec. Plenty of sunshine on Thursday, and then we have those clouds set in as that cold front starts to push through the region. That's going to drop temperatures about 10 degrees as we move into Saturday. They will regain a little bit of strength, but then we get that second cold front dropping through the area on Tuesday of next week. So kind of a roller coaster ride of temperatures over the next few, but notice those overnight lows. Pretty much brisk all week long into Pueblo, but lots of sunshine during the day, so that's a nice thing. Cloudy conditions once Friday evening and Saturday morning rolls around into Canyon City. Overnight lows struggling to stay right in that freezing degree mark, dropping well below, and into the mountains. Pretty much a week of the 20s for your overnight lows, and 50s and 40s. Likely going to see a few little flurries try to stroll through the area Friday evening. They're going to be very light and sporadic, but again, when that cold front wedges through, Saturday is going to be a bit of a chilly one. So hopefully you didn't have any big plans for this weekend that are going to be involved outside, because it's going to be a little bit chilly for us.
I don't even plan 5 minutes ahead. So.
I know. I always ask you, what are you doing?
Nothing to worry about.
I don't know.
Thanks, Jason.
Yeah, not a problem.
Well, the lava in Hawaii slowed significantly over the weekend, but it's still active. Local crews say the lava is slow moving, but it hasn't advanced toward the town of Pahoa. The lava is about 480 feet from the main village road. Some of the lava broke out in different directions, but it is being monitored. Crews don't say the breakouts are a threat to residents. An evacuation advisory is still in effect, though. There was a new development in a case involving missing students in Mexico. Police have made 2 arrests they say may shed light on the case. We'll let you know who's behind bars.
A star of the U.S. women's soccer team is back in the news. We'll have more on her upcoming date with a judge.
And we still want to hear from you about today's web question. What do you think about Fort Lauderdale's ban on feeding the homeless in public? You can leave your comment at KRDO.com or on Facebook or Twitter at KRDO News Channel 13.
There is new video showing the suspect in the disappearance of a 22-year-old woman who was kidnapped in Philadelphia.
Investigators have also learned some of the woman's credit card information has been stolen. ABC's Mara Schiavocampo has more about the desperate search.
This morning, a brand new lead as authorities desperately search for 22-year-old Carlisha Freeland Gaither and the man who violently kidnapped her in this chilling surveillance video. Overnight, police releasing this video of a person of interest in the case buying a drink at a convenience store. This just minutes after he was captured on another video withdrawing cash from Carlisha's account at a bank in Maryland.
It shows a male using an ATM card, her ATM card.
Those videos taken about 8 hours after the abduction on a quiet Philadelphia street Sunday. Here you can see a second angle of the attack as the nurse's assistant returned from a visit with her godson, walking just blocks from her home. Watch as the suspect approaches Carlisha and tries to shake her hand before striking. A different surveillance camera captures him dragging her down the street, forcing her into a car. Carlisha's family is emotionally pleading for her freedom.
I'm willing to give you whatever you want.
The FBI and 4 state agencies are involved in the investigation. Those efforts led to that new surveillance video, which police say includes audio.
We hear the woman being placed in the car, and you can hear her yelling.
Does she ever say a name?
Nope.
Officials say they don't think Carlisha knows her kidnapper, described as a black male in his 20s, about 5'10", driving a gray Ford Taurus.
One person is dead after a van ran into a group of pedestrians at a train station in Jerusalem. More than a dozen people were also hurt. The driver then, police say, got out and attacked officers with a metal bar. Police then shot and killed the man. They're calling the incident a terrorist attack. Israeli police released footage of the clashes after a rabbi was shot at a mosque in Jerusalem. Jerusalem police fired stun grenades and foam baton rounds outside the mosque. Demonstrators inside shot fireworks and used shoe racks as barricades. There's controversy over police entering the holy site. Israeli police say they did briefly enter the mosque during the incident, but denied using anything inside the holy place.
The former mayor of a southern Mexico City and his wife have been arrested in connection with 43 missing students. Jose Abarca and his wife, Maria, were arrested yesterday morning. They're accused of ordering an attack on the college students' teachers in September. 6 people died and 43 students are still missing. At least 56 people have also been arrested in the case. Mexican officials say the couple could shed light on those disappearances.
10 people were arrested after a brawl at a soccer match in Israel. It started after a shirtless man jumped out of the stands and onto the field. He then kicked and confronted a player. The match was restarted briefly, but then fans from both sides ran onto the field, and the match was canceled.
The balance of power has shifted. We'll have more in the Republican Party's big win in the midterm elections next.
And coming up, former Baltimore Ravens star Ray Rice has begun the process to appeal his suspension.
From Southern Colorado's high-definition news leader, this is News Channel 13, where the news comes first.
Welcome back to KRDO News Channel 13 at noon, everyone. I'm John Carroll.
And I'm Brittany Bailey. It was a nail-biter, but we finally have a winner after a competitive race for governor. John Hickenlooper has been re-elected for a second term.
We were there when the very tired and excited governor made his first comments about his victory this morning.
Thank you, Colorado. We owe it all to you.
As you can hear, plenty of celebration during his victory speech over Republican challenger Bob Beaupre. Hickenlooper thanked his family and campaign workers. He also vowed to work with Republicans in the legislature.
Now is especially the time not to be complacent. Now is not the time to kind of sit back and relax, but it is a moment and an opportunity to seize the bit and to move forward.
At midnight, Hickenlooper trailed Beaupre by more than 5,000 votes. Around 3 this morning, Hickenlooper started climbing into the lead. And at last word, he was more than 25,000 votes up. Bob Beaupre has refused to concede the race. His campaign said roughly 120,000 votes remain to be counted.
Manitou Springs voters decided not to ban retail marijuana. Those in favor of allowing retail pot sales believe the sales bring tourism and tax revenue to the city. Opponents say the recreational marijuana industry hurts tourism and tarnishes Manitou's reputation. Less than a year ago, Manitou City Council voted to allow retail pot shops in town, but some residents said this was an issue that should be left to voters.
And yes, absolutely, we have elected leaders, but we feel like this decision for a whole community was too important to leave up to 7 people.
At the end of the night, Issue 2G was rejected by the voters in Manitou Springs.
Palmer Lake voters decided on 2 issues involving recreational marijuana. Here's a look at the numbers for Measure 300. It would have allowed taxation, regulation, and licensing of retail marijuana establishments, but it failed. Palmer Lake voters did, however, approve Measure 301. That means the retail sale of marijuana is prohibited until at least November of 2017. After that, retail pot could be legalized only by a vote of the people.
In Pueblo, voters turned down a 4.3% sales tax on recreational marijuana products and an 8% excise tax on growing, making pot products, or testing it. Question 2A had 52% of the votes against it.
In Canyon City, voters decided against Issue 2C, which would have allowed the cultivation of marijuana and recreational sales within city limits. After yesterday's election, there are now 3 states in the union that have legalized marijuana. Voters in Oregon approved the legalization of personal possession, manufacture, and sale of marijuana for people 21 years of age and older. It mimics plans in Washington state and Colorado. And in Washington, D.C., voters approved a proposal to allow people over 21 years old to possess up to 2 ounces of marijuana for personal use and grow up to 6 plants in their home.
El Paso County voters for the second time have rejected a plan to generate money for stormwater projects. Question 1B failed last night by a margin of 54% to 46%. It would have levied a monthly fee on property taxes. The money would provide millions of dollars for more than 100 projects. One of the opponents was former county commissioner and state lawmaker Douglas Bruce. He was active in the voter repeal of a similar fee back in 2011.
This was a defeat for the developers, it was a defeat for the career-lying politicians, and it was a great victory for the taxpayer. And I think that the message is that one person can still make a difference, and you can fight City Hall and win.
During a debate last month, supporters of 1B previously said it took 2 years to get consensus support from local planners, and it'll take at least that long to agree on another plan.
Republican strategists said the GOP would do well in the midterm election, but the results were even better than they expected. The next Congress will have more House Republicans than at any time since Herbert Hoover's presidency.
And in the Senate, Republicans have knocked off at least 3 incumbents. ABC's Tamon Bradley has more from Washington.
The massive Republican wave Tuesday night has left Democrats licking their wounds.
It was a crushing defeat for the Democrats. Democrats lost not only in purple states and red states, which we anticipated, but we also lost in blue states.
Republicans seize control of the Senate and tighten their grip on the House. These are some of the big winners from the GOP landslide. Joni Ernst, a Harley-riding military vet who famously ran an ad talking about castrating hogs, put Republicans over the top in the Senate with her victory in Iowa.
We are
are going to make them squeal.
Cory Gardner is Colorado's newest senator, winning in a state President Obama carried twice. In Utah, Mia Love becomes the first African-American Republican woman to serve in the House. And Mitch McConnell, re-elected in Kentucky, is set to take over as Senate Majority Leader.
Friends, this experiment in big government has lasted long enough.
One of the most embarrassing losses for President Obama came in his home state of Illinois. Incumbent Democratic Governor Pat Quinn went down, despite help from the President and First Lady. Exit polls show voters went to the polls angry with President Obama and took it out on his party. Now Mr. Obama must forge a new path forward, working with Republicans.
The president took a beating last night. And the fact is, you got to sit down then with the folks on the other side and say to them, okay, let's see what we can agree on together.
We'll hear from Mr. Obama this afternoon at a news conference, and the Republican and Democratic congressional leaders will meet with the president Friday at the White House. Tamon Bradley, ABC News, Capitol Hill.
For complete results of last night's midterm election, go to KRDO.com. Just click on the Decision 2014 banner.
Well, time to get a check on our weather right now. We bring in Storm Tracker 13's Jason Laird, and typical this time of year, a very, very frosty morning, but not too bad out right now.
You know, it's really not. Yeah, starting off a bit brisk and kind of chilly overnight, but really not a bad fall day. Let's show you the big weather story right now as we take you out and show you big dry air mass planted over the Four Corners region. That's brought plenty of sunshine to our region. Now, we do have another little batch of cold air trying to cook off of the North Pacific, much like the last one that moved through the region. That's expected to get here, right as Friday evening into Saturday moves around. Check out that HD Doppler, though, over our area right now. Nothing to speak of, hardly a cloud in the sky, no rain out there either, just a gorgeous day. Get out and enjoy it. But with those clear skies, that kind of allows for those evening temperatures to get a bit brisk on us. But check out what we got going right now, looking at the 60s out into eastern Colorado, mid-60s even into the foothills and the mountains right now, 40s and 50s out there. Gorgeous one. Walsenburg obviously in a big snowstorm there. I don't know what's going on with the cameras here. Well, Peyton's the same story. No. Let's check out the 13-day trend. Now, this really paints the big picture for us. We have two kind of cold fronts moving through the state. One of them is going to be Friday night. You see that little dip in temperatures, about 10 degrees. And then the next one is going to be about Tuesday, and that's where that little dip is. Then things will start to normal out a little bit, and yeah, that's right. A little bit of that white fluffy stuff just around the corner, but it's bound to get here eventually. The rest of your afternoon, though, looks like this. Looking at the 60s, cooling off to the 40s this evening, and into the Springs, relatively the same story, or I should say into Pueblo, looking at 64 degrees by 3, and then cooling off to the mid-40s by 9 tonight. Plenty of sunshine and clear skies out there. John, Brittany, we'll send it back to you guys.
Jason, thanks. The Fort Carson homecoming that was canceled has been rescheduled. Looking ahead this afternoon, the homecoming ceremony will happen tonight at 5 on the Mountain Post. 20 soldiers from the 152nd Movement Control Team, 43rd Special Troops Battalion, and 43rd Sustainment Brigade will arrive home today. They deployed in April. That ceremony will take place at the Special Events Center. If the time changes again, we'll be sure to let you know. Soccer star Hope Solo is set for trial next year. The goalkeeper is charged with 2 counts of misdemeanor domestic violence. The charges stem from a June altercation with her sister and 17-year-old nephew at a family gathering. Solo's nephew told police she was upset and appeared to have been drinking when she showed up at the gathering. She has pleaded not guilty. Solo has won 2 Olympic gold medals with the U.S. women's national team.
Ray Rice has started the appeals process for his NFL suspension. Now, it comes after video surfaced of him punching his now wife.
ABC's Lana Zach has more about how the NFL is under fire.
As he entered into an arbitration hearing this morning, Ray Rice was holding hands with his wife, Janae, the same woman whose unconscious body he dragged out of a hotel elevator in February. Initially, Rice was suspended for only 2 games. Then, following a public outcry and the release of this second video, the NFL suspended him indefinitely. Rice believes he was already punished after the initial 2-game suspension.
When the second video came out, that was inconsistent with the information we had. It was new information.
Expected to testify, NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell, whose admitted mishandling of this case has caused some to demand that he too be ejected from pro football. Just yesterday, another player, Minnesota Viking star Adrian Peterson, was in court.
How do you plead?
Entering a plea deal on felony child abuse charges.
I truly regret this incident.
This morning, Peterson is a free man. as is female soccer star Hope Solo, accused of assaulting her sister and 17-year-old nephew. She is still on the field with the full support of U.S. Soccer, leading many to decry a double standard.
You know, they're role models, and whether they like it or not, there are children watching them, and they should be held to a high standard.
Rice and Goodell are expected to be in this Manhattan law office for at least the next 2 days. And what will really be interesting to watch is how this decision will affect others trying to return to pro sports. Lana Zach, ABC News, New York.
Well, we have results from one more election to pass along to you.
And the candidates were fighting like cats and dogs. Find out which party came out on top next.
You still have time to answer today's web question. What do you think about Fort Lauderdale's ban on feeding the homeless in public? Leave a comment at krdo.com or on Facebook or Twitter at KRDO News Channel 13.
Welcome back. Well, a comfortable fall day all across Colorado today. Hardly a cloud in the sky and plenty of sunshine to go around. Look at those temperatures right now. Mid-60s out in eastern Colorado, low to mid-60s into the foothills and even into the mountains. We're looking at 40s, 50s, and even 60 degrees in Salida right now. So just nice weather. That's all due to a big area of high pressure that's built over the Four Corners region. The only bad news is it's not going to stick around terribly long, but at least we're getting a break from the cold as we move into the winter months, right? Check out that live HD Doppler. Not a whole lot of activity, like I said, not a cloud on the sky, no moisture to speak of, just a beautiful day out there. Get out and enjoy your Wednesday. Now, we do have a little bit of action up to our north and west again, right where that last system dropped in off of the North Pacific. We've got another batch of cold air that's likely going to enter into the region by Friday, but right now, again, just a big dry air mass planted over the Four Corners region. That will continue to track out to the east over the next few days. Here's how it's going to play out. That batch of warm air, again, traveling off to the east. That cooler air is going to start to drop down into the state. Won't quite make it here, though, until Friday. So we're looking at nice, comfortable temperatures, plenty of sunshine to go around all the way up through Thursday. That warm air is pretty much going to stay right on top of the state. And look at that, not even a cloud in the sky up through Thursday. It's going to be Friday night that things take a bit of a change on us. Temperatures tonight, brisk, though. When you get those clear skies, well, things kind of get a bit chilly overnight. So below freezing in pretty much every location, especially into the high country. 31 here into the Springs, 26 into Pueblo, and looking at a few near 30-degree marks into eastern Colorado. But the mountains, some places dropping down to the teens. Alamosa 15, Leadville 19 tonight, so a bit chilly. Tomorrow, though, look at that, nearing 70 degrees in many locations out into eastern Colorado. 70 into Trinidad, looking at the high 60s and mid-60s into the foothills. Denver 66 tomorrow, 64 here into the Springs, and a few mid-60s and and 50s into the high country tomorrow. So just a nice day. But let's check out that 7-day forecast. Bit of a roller coaster ride, all right? So we have that mid-60-degree mark tomorrow, 64, plenty of sunshine. That cold front drops through the region. Yeah, doesn't look to be bringing a lot of rain with it. More or less just cloud cover. High terrain might catch a flurry or two Friday night. Then the temperatures level out, and then we see another drop in the temperatures as Tuesday winds around. That's kind of the double dose of cold air that's going to move in there for us. Pueblo, relatively the same story. It's 74 on Friday, but those temperatures, again, taking a 10-degree drop as Saturday rolls around. Overnight lows a bit brisk, below freezing in many locations there. We're looking at lots of sunshine for your Thursday into Canyon City. Same story there. Cold front passes through the region. Should stay relatively dry into Canyon City. I don't suspect much for moisture. Now, Teller County likely going to see maybe a rain-snow mix Friday evening. Shouldn't see much accumulation, if any, out of this. It's going to, again, stay rather dry, much like that last front that passed through. Just a big batch of cold air that's going to drop those temperatures down a little bit, but always try to remain optimistic. At least Mother Nature's given us a bit of a break as Sunday, Monday, Tuesday rolls around, but then it kind of cools off again. So roller coaster ride of temperatures this next week or so.
Even half a weekend is better than no weekend.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly, most definitely.
Thanks, Jason.
Yep.
Well, she stole the show during some of our live coverage of the midterm election, and now we're learning more about this cute kitty we've named Ballot. She was putting on quite the show in the background of our reporter's live shot yesterday morning. We've heard many people have noticed her hanging around Centennial Hall in downtown Colorado Springs. It turns out she's a well-known figure there, and area employees take care of her. We're told she also has a warm place to stay and has been spayed and vaccinated. Good to hear.
While the grown-ups were casting their ballots for heated political races and hot-button issues, some Mississippi children were having their voices heard too. Students at the Nativity Elementary School in Biloxi held their first election, but the candidates weren't even human. This election pitted cats against dogs. The school held 2 weeks of political debates and speeches before the big election day.
I will cast my vote for cats. I said, like, dogs can understand over 250 words, and I went, can a cat? No.
Cats, 34. Dogs, 120.
In the end, the canines topped the felines, and the young voters learned their voices really matter.
I don't know, did humans get that excited about the people winning elections?
Not that I saw.
Well, it is time now to check in with our news partners at KRDO News Radio.
Paul Richards from KRDO's Morning News joins us. Hi, Paul.
Hi, John. Hi, Brittany. Thanks very much. I'm here with Major Richard Larson from the Salvation Army here in Colorado Springs. Major, great to have you here. How are you?
Well, I'm doing well. Thank you very much for having me.
Well, sure. Listen, let's talk about the Red Kettle campaign. We are just about there, aren't we?
We are. We're starting that Red Kettle campaign out in front of stores on November 21st, and it's going through the 24th, and we need volunteers, and we need you to help us to take care of our citizens in our community by giving to the Red Kettle.
So how can people get involved with that?
Well, they can go on our website and they can volunteer, and we have like 21 sites that they can volunteer at, and it's at 2-hour block increments, and so that's one way of doing it. Another way is just you could buy a season pass.
Really?
Yeah, so like when you go by the kettle, you can show your little season pass. I have one in my pocket somewhere. And what you do is you say, oh, I don't have any cash today, but I bought my season pass, and you could.
And you're good to go.
And you're good to go, yes, absolutely.
Well, let's talk about where the money raised goes. What programs does that fund?
You know, a lot of people don't know that we run the R.J. Montgomery Center. It's a 200-bed shelter, and that money goes to direct services in our community. And last year we had 2,300 individuals who went through the R.J. Montgomery Center and got help through permanent housing or some referrals. What else can happen is that money's helping us with our cold weather shelter. We just opened a 100-bed cold weather bed shelter.
And where is that building, by the way?
That's on the corner of like Weber and Cimarron.
So it's right there in the heart of downtown.
It is. And last night we had about 29 people there, and so it wasn't that cold, but when it gets a little colder, I think we're going to have a lot of people.
Oh, sure. No question about it. Now, we're also doing a food drive with you guys. Tell me about that.
Oh, I'm really excited about that. That's really why I'm here, because last year we gave about 3,000 bags of food, but we fed 80,000 meals in our shelter.
80,000?
Yes, it's hard to believe. I know.
Amazing.
It's amazing. And that's why this food drive is so important to us, because we really need the food to come in to help feed those who we're helping.
Sure. And how can people donate?
They can donate. Oh, I think we're doing it at American Furniture. And they can come down and they can donate the food there. They can call the Salvation Army. They can go on the website. They can bring it to us or give us a call.
And what is the website, Major?
The website is tsacs.com.
Okay. And once again, that's the same place that people can volunteer for the Red Kettle campaign?
Absolutely. They can just click on the volunteer button. They can click on the button for their season pass. They can see all the programs that we do and where the money goes that they give to us.
Excellent. Well, Major, a delight meeting you finally. I appreciate the time. Best of luck with the campaign, and I know I'll see you again real soon.
All right. Thanks a lot. I appreciate all that you do for us.
Major Richard Larson with the Salvation Army here in Colorado Springs. John and Brittany, we'll send it back to you.
All right, thanks so much, Paul. The 48th Annual Country Music Awards are tonight. The event is being emceed by 7-time hosts Carrie Underwood and Brad Paisley. Now, you can watch the CMAs tonight at 7 right here on KRDO News Channel 13. Well, if you've ever wanted to own a piece of your idol, now's your chance. More than 700 items from more than 40 artists are going on the auction block. It's called Julian's Icons and Idols Rock and Roll event. You can bid on Madonna's Moon Man, Miley Cyrus's gloves, and Whitney Houston's jumpsuit, among other memorabilia. One of the hottest items is expected to be a guitar signed by U2. It's expected to go for between 60 and 80 grand.
Yeah, and the contemporary artists are represented as well. We have Lady Gaga, Miley Cyrus, we have Katy Perry, Nicki Minaj, Beyonce, Carrie Underwood. Great collection from Anne and Nancy Wilson from Heart. And Neoma Judd has a great collection as well for our country fans.
The auction happens Friday in Beverly Hills.
Beyonce is set to release new music, but not quite as many songs as some expected. Columbia Records and Beyonce's company announced a new Beyonce Platinum Edition box set. It's due out November 24th. It's expected to include Beyonce's original self-titled album that was released last December, along with a DVD of 17 music videos. The set is also expected to include a second CD with 2 new songs and 4 unreleased remixes. Let's find out what you thought about our web question today. Here's another look at it. What do you think about Fort Lauderdale, Florida's ban on feeding the homeless in public?
Well, Jenna says, that's absolutely the most ridiculous thing I have ever heard. Christine says, I wish I lived in Florida so I could give food to every homeless person I saw. Outlawing random acts of kindness should be outlawed.
Mary says, let me get this straight. You can feed the squirrels, but you can't feed hungry humans? You wonder what's wrong with this world. And Robbie says, this should appear on the top 10 list of really stupid laws at number 1. There are homeless people everywhere. If I had the time and resources, I would definitely do everything to help out.
Nick says this is solid proof that our society is failing. And Tina says, I think humanity is going down a very bad path. Sickening.
Charles says, if being kind is outlawed, then only outlaws will be kind. Catherine says, this is so sad and disgusting. They are human beings. Heartless people that think it's okay to treat others like this break my heart.
Jen says ignorance at its best, unbelievable. Deborah says shame on you, Fort Lauderdale. And Donna says, so are we supposed to let homeless people starve to death? How many more stupid laws have to be made before we take action?
Yeah, we appreciate you sharing your thoughts with us on this subject today. Remember, for all of our top stories, log on to our website at krdo.com for all the local headlines and latest election results.
Tonight at 4, we'll look at the impact of last night's midterm elections and bring you up to date on all of the official results. Plus, it wasn't a bird or a plane or even a meteor. Tonight at 4, we'll show you what was really behind a streak of light in the sky above Chicago that had people on the ground mystified. That's tonight on KRDO News Channel 13 at 4.
Well, the Los Angeles Zoo got a surprise addition. A baby hippo made a shocking entrance into the world last week.
The zoo says it didn't know the mom was pregnant and she was on birth control. Staffers aren't sure if the baby is a boy or a girl. They're working to keep the mother-child bond and haven't gotten a close look at the calf just yet. And what did you say about that, John?
Well, she didn't tell her husband that she
yeah, you said the hippo husband was
not
probably
taking her
pretty
birth
surprised.
control. Yeah, but I guess with hippos, apparently a little hard to tell when they are pregnant.
Well, yeah, I guess the body type doesn't lend oneself to know.
Yeah. Mysterious, right? Check out that forecast one more time here. Overnight lows a bit brisk tonight with clear skies, looking at well below freezing in pretty much every location out there. Salida seems to be the hot spot at 32 degrees, but everywhere else into the mid-20s into the foothills and almost pushing 30 degrees out into the plains. As we glance at our Thursday, not a bad day on tap, actually just a touch above seasonable averages there. Nearing 70 degrees into eastern Colorado, 70 into Trinidad there, and a few 60s and 50s into the high terrain. So really not a bad couple of days, but a big change, I should say, once Friday rolls around. That's when we get a pretty decent patch of colder air that starts slipping into the region, much like we saw this last go around. Not really much for snow or rain, just cold is the big story there. So.
All right, well, bundle up then,
yeah,
as we normally do this time of the year. Thanks, Jason.
Have a great afternoon, everyone. We'll be back at 4 again with all of the latest election results.